Breathing is the singer's bread. Breathing is the key to good, easy singing. And singing is your birthright. If you notice, all of nature sings, and it does it effortlessly. Maybe it should be the same for man. And it is the same for man if we understand the mechanism and we're willing to do a little training, possibly some retraining, to align the body properly and to make it go into that singing position, which really is the health position. For good breathing also brings on good health, vitality, inspiration. You feel good when you sing, and when you breathe properly, you sing well. So we want to look at this instrument that supports the voice. Now the voice, we know, comes through this open tube in the throat, and that's one of the main keys of singing, is to keep the throat open. In a big yawn. Well, you notice when you yawn, the rib muscles start to work. And you feel a contraction here. And all of a sudden, you begin to breathe deeply down into the bottom of the body. That's what we want for the singing breath. So the first thing you want to do is open the throat in a big yawn. And basically, you stay there all the time you're singing. The tongue goes down, the throat's open, and you begin to inhale this life force that we call air, prana. It's the energetic force that we want to bring inside of us so that it can feed the vocal cords and come out in this limitless tone. So when you put the tongue down, and then you feel the ribs begin to move, that gives you a big clue. The next thing we want to do is expand those ribs. You pull them to the side. Let's take a look at the basis of the breathing mechanism, which is the diaphragm. Now, when the air comes in through this open throat and goes down into the lungs are shortened up in just a natural pose. But when we lower the diaphragm, now we have a bigger capacity inside the lungs for breathing. We want that cushion of air inside the body. Let's take a look at what the diaphragm actually looks like. I like Grant's Atlas of Anatomy. It's very clear here what the diaphragm looks like. If you see this dome-shaped diaphragm here, that's the key to your breathing, to allow that to move down. And what happens is, you see that's attached on the sides to the muscles just below the ribs. In the back, it's attached to the backbone. It's attached to the ribs all the way around. So when you expand the ribs, you bring them out to the side, this diaphragm goes down. There used to be organs stored under this diaphragm. So the liver, the stomach, and everything that's under there, when that moves down, it has to go somewhere. So we relax this down. You see the sac for the heart sits on top of it, so right away you can see one of the benefits of deep breathing is that it moves the heart, massages the heart. One more thing to look at in Grant's book here, this is the bottom of the diaphragm, which I look at and say, it looks like a mushroom. It looks like the underside of a mushroom there. the top of it. You see how it's rounded and it's kind of the shape of a grapefruit. So when you bring these ribs out to the side and that diaphragm goes down, then the next thing that happens is the liver and the stomach and everything goes down into the abdominal cavity. You see, the diaphragm separates this chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So it moves everything down into the abdominal cavity. It has to go somewhere. It can't go around to the back because this is all bone back here, so it doesn't give. So the belly gives, just slightly, in order to allow that to come down. You keep the diaphragm relaxed and the ribs out to the side. The belly has pooched out just a bit, and then you begin to bring up the strong muscles of the belly under the diaphragm, keeping it soft, keeping it relaxed. But we talked about these ribs that expand. The ribs are called costae, the Latin term for them. Inside the ribs there are muscles. Now you know a muscle only goes one way in the body. If you want to raise your arm, there's a set of muscles that raises the arm. If you want to bring it down, that set of muscles is not programmed to do that. There's another set of muscles that pulls the arm down. And so it is through the whole body. So there's a set of muscles inside the ribs that pull the ribs in. There's another set out here that pull the ribs out. We want to get full use of both of those sets of muscles. They're the ones that do the work. It's not the diaphragm itself. The diaphragm remains soft, pliable, but the big muscles, you see, the strongest muscles in the body are these transverse muscles that go across the stomach and they attach here at the sides of the hips. They're in the front and they're in the back the same way, V-shaped muscles. Now we know the big muscles that do the work of controlling the breath so that the singing tone is free. You want to catapult the sound out into the air, and you do it from this springboard of the transverse muscles and from the control of the ribs through those inside intercostal muscles and then the outside muscles that lift them out. So try this. Put your hands on the bottom of the ribs and then begin to expand the ribs out. You can feel your hands move. You can move the ribs quite a distance when you move those outside intercostal muscles and pull it out. And it goes all the way around to the back. You want the breath to go deeply into the body. The breath comes from the very core of your being. You've got the strong transverse muscles here. You tuck the tailbone in. You use both sets of these transverse muscles to tuck the tailbone in and make this your center, your core. You pull the perineum up, you bring these muscles in, and you become the athlete who breathes deeply down into the very bottom of the tailbone, and you keep the breath down here in the back. You expand the back. You expand all over inside to make your breathing cushion comfortable so that you feed the vocal cords. You actually bring a cushion of air up under the vocal cords and another that sits at the back of the voice box. And it's all cushioned in there and fed. And then by the raising and lowering of the root of the tongue and the lowering of the larynx, you have an instrument that will support any artistic endeavor you have with the voice. So you want to be free. You want to get this technique to be automatic so that when you want to do an artistic endeavor, you want to sing a high note, or you want to project a long riff, you've got the power, you've got the technology to do it, and then you're free to think about the artistic production of your message. So the support, the muscular support, setting free the diaphragm. The diaphragm is not a muscle of the exhalation. You inhale, you bring the diaphragm down, but it's not the real force that pushes the lungs up. It simply stays relaxed so that you can manage the breath inside the expanded lungs with these intercostal muscles. It's side breathing and breathing into the solar plexus, which we'll discuss on another video, because there's an important key to getting attached to the bottom of the body. We want to bring your air all the way to the bottom of the body so that you have vitality and bounce in the sound. More next time.